Welcome to English Launchpoint, where you learn English naturally. Today's lesson is not a grammar class, and it is not a list of vocabulary rules. Instead, you will learn English through history, the story of the British Empire, one of the most influential forces in world history. Listen carefully as you follow the journey. Pay attention to how sentences flow naturally. This will help you sound more natural in English, not word by word, but in meaning and rhythm, so relax and listen closely. Let the story improve your English naturally. A small island kingdom on the edge of Europe began to look outward. It was not large in size, but it carried ambition and a growing sense of direction. The sea became its pathway, and ships became its strength. As exploration became its mission, sailors pushed beyond familiar waters into storms and uncertainty, searching for opportunity. At first it was trade, simple exchanges between distant lands, built on curiosity and demand. Spices, silk and gold flowed back into Europe, bringing wealth and interest. The more was discovered, the more was desired, and the further expansion went. Trade routes began to widen, linking continents together in new global networks. Ports were built in strategic coastal locations to support long voyages. These ports became busy centers filled with merchants and goods from many cultures. Over time, trade changed. It became something stronger and far more influential. Influence turned into control, agreements turned into authority, and presence became power. Trading companies grew rapidly, some with armies of their own, protecting overseas interests. One of the most powerful operated across Asia, reshaping entire regions. In India, the change was clear. Trade evolved into governance, and control expanded quickly. Local rulers were weakened, alliances were manipulated, and authority shifted outward. Decisions were no longer local. They were made far away by distant institutions. What began as commerce became political dominance through gradual expansion. Administrative systems were introduced, replacing older local structures. With centralized rule, taxes were reorganized. Resources were redirected toward external interests. Railways and roads expanded, not only for development, but for control and movement. This infrastructure connected regions, but also strengthened oversight of the territory. In North America, settlers arrived, crossing the Atlantic Ocean, searching for new beginnings. They built small colonies, which slowly expanded into towns and cities. As settlement grew, so did land expansion, moving deeper inland. This expansion displaced others, especially indigenous communities, whose lives were disrupted. Entire cultures were reshaped as traditions were pushed aside and new systems introduced. Conflict and competition increased as land and resources became central struggles. In the Caribbean, plantations emerged, driven by global demand for sugar and profit. Millions were forcibly transported across the Atlantic Ocean in one of history's darkest chapters. Families were separated, identities were erased, and generations were affected. In Africa, exploration increased rapidly, driven by competition and resources between global powers. European nations rushed in, dividing land among themselves with little understanding. Maps were drawn quickly, ignoring local realities and existing societies. Borders cut across communities, separating or forcing groups together without consent. Colonial administrations were established, replacing local authority with external control. Resistance was always present, sometimes hidden, sometimes open, but never fully gone. Factories demanded raw materials from across the world to sustain production. In return, manufactured goods were exported, back to those same regions, creating an imbalance. Steam power improved travel, making movement faster and easier. Across oceans, communication also improved, allowing faster coordination across vast territories. At its height, the empire was vast, covering large parts of the earth. Across continents and oceans, people said the sun never set, because somewhere in the empire, it was always daylight. The navy controlled sea routes, securing trade and movement across the world. Military power supported expansion, enforcing control when needed, in different regions. In India, movements for independence grew. People demanded self-rule and national identity. Protests became stronger, and movements more organized, across cities and villages. Leaders emerged, calling for unity and freedom across the nation. Self-governance was the demand, and it could not be ignored any longer. In Africa, similar movements rose, across many territories. Over time, ideas of freedom spread, across generations and regions, growing stronger each year. Control became harder to maintain, as resistance increased steadily, across the empire. Then global war began, the First World War, changing everything. Colonies contributed soldiers and materials for war on a massive scale. The empire became strained by cost and loss across regions. Soon after, another war followed, even more destructive than the first. Cities were destroyed, economies weakened, and recovery was slow. After the wars ended, the world had changed completely. Ideas of independence grew stronger across the globe. Without stopping, colonies demanded independence, not as a request, but as a right. India became a turning point, gaining independence in 1947, changing history. Other nations followed quickly, across Africa and Asia, one by one. The empire began to shrink, losing control over time. Across regions, direct rule ended. Across most territories, over decades. The Commonwealth was formed as a voluntary association of independent nations. English remained global, used in business and communication worldwide. Legal systems still reflect it in many countries today, across continents. Education systems carry influence, shaping generations. In modern times, cultural exchange increased through migration and media across the world. Technology has replaced ships as the main connection system in the modern world. Information now travels instantly, changing global communication completely, but history still remains visible in language and systems across continents. And so the story continues, not as an ending, but as evolution of nations rising, of systems expanding, and of the world changing. Now, take the next step in your English journey. Start speaking with confidence today. Do not just watch. Practice what you learned. Use these sentences in real life. Now it is your turn. Speak out loud. Do not stay silent. Confidence comes from action, not perfection. Keep going every day. Make mistakes freely. That is how you learn. That is how you grow. Turn these words into habits. Use them in conversations. Make English part of your life. Do not rush the process. Take it step by step. Progress is still progress. Every word you speak makes you better, makes you stronger. Listen carefully. Speak clearly. Repeat consistently. You are improving daily, even if you do not see it. Trust the process. Fluency is built over time. with practice and patience. Keep showing up. Do not be afraid to speak imperfect English. That is how fluency starts. Your voice matters. Your progress matters. Keep going forward. Turn learning into habit. Practice every single day. Stay consistent. Before you go, I want to hear from you. What part of this story did you find most interesting? Comment below. I am improving my English. Or tell me where you are watching from. Your comment helps you practice, and it helps this channel grow. Do not just watch. Engage with the lesson. Now repeat after this video. Train your voice. Build your fluency daily. If you found this lesson helpful, subscribe to English Launchpoint, like this video, and share it with someone learning English. Stay tuned for the next lesson, where we learn English through powerful stories again.